Broadcast Center. And I do know my next guest is around the corner. Jeff Flath with eNow Incorporated is around the corner.
Hello.
I appreciate your coming in today. You've been quite busy this week.
Yes, yes, thank you.
Now I just want to go over again the business here, creating a wireless monitoring system to allow truck drivers using solar panels to monitor energy generation and usage with smartphones and tablets.
Correct. So let me add to that. So our primary business is we have developed solar-based auxiliary power systems that we deploy on commercial vehicles. And the wireless monitoring device is the last piece of the technology that enables us to monitor and track how much energy is being used on these vehicles, how much fuel we're saving, and then likely we can then actually charge customers for the amount of energy they use versus the amount of energy that they would create through a diesel engine.
Okay. So very groundbreaking, and you went to the state, you went to Commerce and said, we could use $200,000 to make this work. And Commerce, yesterday, the Access to Capital Committee okayed it.
Correct.
But then it went to Commerce for the full vote, and they said, we're going to delay this.
Correct, correct.
And so what were your thoughts when this happened? Here you are, a Rhode Island business, saying this would really enable us to move forward to the next step. Now you said following the meeting, well, we can sort of dig into our pockets, but these programs are here for Rhode Island businesses ostensibly. Talk with us. I mean, you must have gone through a lot even just to get to that level, preparing everything to present to the state to make your case.
That is correct. So there is quite an extensive background that you have in an application that you have to fill out. A lot of information on the company, the background, the history, the business plan, and so forth, which we did. And so I think we filed our application 3 months ago, and we are waiting to go in front of both the Access to Capital and in the board. I think I have two perspectives. One is I don't think that we should have gone through the board until the budget of the state of Rhode Island had been finished. And the reason for that is us as even a business, we're competing for funds. And even those funds are available through this program that was established in 2012 and approved by the board, the Rhode Island Commerce Corp board, and then at that point in time I think it was EDC. But it was also, I think, legislation approved it, and the ratepayers of the state contribute all of this money every time they pay their electric bill, and these funds are there for these programs. So it wasn't out of the ordinary that we were asking for a loan. And the question that came up yesterday was, well, we've seen that you've raised a lot of equity in your business. Well, equity is very expensive capital.
Yes, it is.
And we have a fiduciary responsibility to our shareholders to utilize that, to the best ability. And so when there are funds available for this specific opportunity, that's why we applied.
So were you surprised at the outcome yesterday? Did you, and hearing what you heard, as you said, the feedback that you're a more mid to later stage than early stage, but what was your reaction when they delayed the vote?
Well, I think there was some confusion on some of the board members about the program.
Okay.
Some of the board members, I don't think, really realized what this program was. So they kept referring to making an investment in eNow. And as I tried to point out to them, you're not making an investment in eNow. You're providing a low-cost loan through this program, which we have an obligation to pay back, and we pay it back at some interest rate. So when I was asked the question, so what's in it for the state? Well, what's in it for the state is you get paid back, and we create additional jobs.
Do you think you've gone to the state before, you've had some assistance, do you think that it's easy for small businesses, growing business, to access what possibly is available to them from the state, or is it pretty complicated?
I think it's very complicated. And my background in the state, prior to founding eNow, I had been the president and CEO of the Cooley Group, which is located in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. At that time, we were doing Cooley was doing about $100 million a year. We had 270 employees, 3 operations in Rhode Island, 1 in Europe, 1 in South Carolina. And so it wasn't like I didn't have experience in running a business. But in startups, and we were a true startup because we actually had to develop the technology, the solar technology for commercial transportation that didn't exist. So it's very hard as a startup to raise money. And so we went to the state because the job guarantee program was in place, the same as the bad terminology 38 Studio, but it was in place and we went through the process. And in that process, one of the obligations to anyone seeking those funds was, number one, is they had to at least match the money that was being guaranteed, 50%. We matched it 120%. So we got a loan guarantee for $1 million. We put in $1.2 million of seed capital through the founders and so forth. In addition to that, we had to guarantee that we'd create 10 jobs over the life of this loan. So 3 years after, last year, we were able to renegotiate with Citizens based off our performance, and we eliminated the guarantee to the state 100%.
Wow.
So there is no guarantee to the state now if we fail. So they're not under any obligation whatsoever. And instead of creating 10 jobs, we've created 12 jobs.
You've created 12 jobs, and again, you were looking for this $200,000 loan. And as part of a program, as you said, you thought maybe that the budget approval would have enabled at least a little certainty for Commerce to know what they were dealing with. But as a small business, what do you think when, again, you're competing for a lot of businesses competing for a small piece of the pie, and then bigger businesses, a GE or a Johnson & Johnson, $5 million here, $5 million there. Do you think that they're more generous with the larger businesses?
My personal opinion is we have to concentrate on the businesses that are here. One of the things I learned long ago, when you're growing a business and you have a certain amount of customers who are already providing you revenue, the fastest way to grow your business is by getting them to increase the amount of sales they do with you. That's much easier than going out and finding new customers. And I think that we need to pay more attention. There's hundreds, probably thousands of businesses in the state of Rhode Island that are just as smart as what we believe we are at eNow, but are just as smart, have some of the same goals and objectives. And I think if we were investing there, I think we could grow just as many jobs.
And as $200,000, and again, it's a small piece of the pie, do you think, as you said, staying here in Rhode Island, focusing at the businesses at hand, do you think the scale should be a little more balanced in terms of that pie available for resources for the existing businesses? So could you have utilized even a larger loan, a $500,000 loan, if the resources were there?
Correct. So, and I agree. I think we need to spend more time and effort here than trying to bring other jobs in, because when we bring those other jobs in, and you read, it's great. It's great to bring in GE. It's great to bring in all these other companies. But some of the benefits are down the road. Where some of the benefits, if you're investing in Rhode Island companies today, some of the benefits are immediate.
So where do things stand? They said they were going to delay. You kind of took a little time, kind of stepped back a little bit, clearly moving forward with the business at hand. Do you think you'll go back, or do you think you'll say, well, we're just going to keep moving on our course and maybe we'll come back to you next time?
I think, again, we'll keep moving on our same course. Again, the question was, well, on our balance sheet, we have the cash to do it, but it was through our Series A equity raise. And again, as I said to them, equity is very expensive. If you have the opportunity to bring in low-cost capital to do the same thing, then that's what you should do. What this means is we won't add 2 to 3 jobs that we were thinking about adding.
Okay. And anything else to look for the company moving forward, again, with this groundbreaking technology?
Well, again, we're working with some of the largest fleets in the U.S. Walmart is one of those fleets, U.S. Express, Federal Express, Penske organization. We think we have established a business that are you familiar with APC and Roger Goodell's story? So Roger Goodell started in a garage. We started in a garage. The first product that they developed was a solar inverter. Unfortunately, solar at that time they did it had not really come into play yet. So they went back and they started to think about what they could do. So that's how they came up with making the uninterruptible power supply for personal computers. So I look at it and say, we have the same opportunity because of the worldwide use of transportation and fuel and so forth. eNow and many other companies could be the next APC.
Now, again, you're here in Rhode Island. You talk about growing the business. Are you wedded to staying in Rhode Island? Is there any lure to go outside and go elsewhere?
Great question, Kate, because we're not originally Rhode Islanders. We grew up in the Midwest.
Yes.
We lived in California. We came here. We raised our sons here. Our grandchildren are here. That's what keeps us here. But from a standpoint of the business climate and community, we could be potentially easily drawn to another area that seemed to be much more business friendly to those existing companies in their state.
Mm-hmm. Well, I appreciate, as I said, wanted you to come in here to be able to tell the story because, again, you can see the result of a vote, again, at Commerce and not really know the full backstory here. As I, asked a bunch of questions, anything I might not have touched upon that you want to share with viewers?
I think the people that we dealt with at Rhode Island Commerce Corp, all professional, very, very good. And I think it was, in the process they went through, was very thorough. I just think it was a timing issue, and the state would have been better off just saying, no, let's not bring this in front of the board until we have a budget. Because people look at that and say, why am I spending money with eNow, even though it's a loan, when we could be spending money over here?
Well, again, we're looking to see, if and when they tackle the budget. Just had the Economic Progress Institute, so people from all over Rhode Island are urging them to, again, address the issue. What was your reaction when you saw that? I mean, you knew you had an application. Did you have some sort of inkling like, oh boy, this could mess up?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, reality is reality.
Reality is
and
reality.
When you look in the paper and you see that they're still not meeting with each other, and you could sense that why would they want to make this decision versus making a no decision, and looking at doing it in the future.
Well, I'm glad I was able to pick your brain again as a small business owner, a growing one, about your thoughts on how the state operates and what you need to move forward to be successful. So I appreciate your coming in here today to tell your story,
Well,
Jeff.
thank you, Kate.
Jeff Flath with
Thank
eNow.
you.